If I want to be pegged, does that make me gay? If I like watching two men be intimate with each other, does that make me gay? And if I'm having thoughts of attraction to another man, does that mean that I will go to hell in the eyes of God? Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. Happy New Year, everybody. And I wanted to kind of have this conversation with you, as these were questions that I would frequently hear, from men who are, questioning their sexuality. These are men who are wanting to maybe explore things that are maybe viewed as taboo by their family or the culture that they were brought up in. And they are wanting to know, they're asking these questions specifically because they have these desires, yes, but they also want to know, like, how far over the line can I dip my toe before I have to label myself as homosexual or gay? Because I don't like the idea of the label. I want to try some things. I want to explore some things. I want to be free to do that without the label, without the scrutiny of other people, and it would just be interesting to kind of hear men ask these questions, and then also not to hear them just ask them, but also to hear men give answers too. Because sometimes men would be like, well, if your woman does it to you, then you're not gay. If you do it with your woman, so there's also there's the inclusiveness of a woman takes away the stigma of it, of you being gay, versus like we're just exploring things as a couple and we're just having fun, where we are playing in the bedroom as a couple, and therefore I don't need to label myself as anything. I'm just doing things with my woman, or in the during the relationship. For many of these men who are certainly questioning and wanting to explore and actually going out and doing these things, sexuality definitely occurs on a spectrum. And if you've heard me talk, you've heard me talk about that before, how it's on a spectrum where it's like this questioning, it's like this. There can be a religious component for many, and I usually see that in Black men or men of color, where they're questioning the religious aspect if they had a, particularly religious upbringing. Then there's that, because, it's been hammered into them, usually from an early age, that, God does not like homosexuality and this and that and the other thing. And so there, it starts with this fantasizing, questioning, curiosity, and then at a certain point, it just becomes, what, forget it, whatever, I don't care. I'm just going to try it. And then it can almost become almost like manic in a way, where it's like, I want to try everything sometimes, or I want to, I like it. So I want to try as much of it as possible. And now it's uncontrollable because I have kept this caged for so long. And so when it gets to that, that's when things can become particularly dangerous or risky, as I like to call it. Because sometimes what tends to happen is, there can be a bit of recklessness, because they're now seeking out people who may play into their fantasies and their desires, where the relationship is a lot more transactional, and they may never see that person again. So they may be seeking out sex workers or things like that. And in that case, or people who are just a lot more liberal with hooking up. And now we have sites that are dedicated to anonymous hookups for men, where men can literally just go on a site, find a man, and be in his house in 5 minutes now. Um, And so those things can become a lot more risky and dangerous. And, you know, in addition to just physical, you never know what you're walking into. It'll also be a threat to you, a threat to your health. And some of the things that I've seen where people just become consumed with wanting to try things, but are also consumed with the shame about wanting to try these things. Um, as they contract STDs repeatedly, they may not go to the doctor, and so they may be sort of walking around with STDs and things like that because they're ashamed to go to a doctor and talk about, hey, I got this by doing X. Yes, I engage, and they don't want to answer those questions because then there's a record, and they start feeling like they're going to be judged for it, and all these other things like that. And so it's not uncommon for people to contract STDs over and over. It's not uncommon for STDs to become to get into the latent stage where it's like, once they have it, it's pretty much, it's not really treatable anymore. They're just basically going to have to, they can treat some symptoms, but they're pretty much going to be troubled by it for the rest of their life. So that's just some things that I wanted to talk to you all about. Talk to you all about that came to the top of mind today. But I hope that helps. Thanks so much. Take care.